Right, so there was a bit of a who there. You can find me on the internet, but not with the Hjorth, without the H at the end. I rank much better with my full name, my full last name, with the Hjorth. I sort of picked a couple of things there. I'm a judge as well, like Judith. We meet very often in go-to meetings and sometimes at ceremonies, which is where I get a lot of the input I get from the market. I get stuff from conferences and also from judging search awards. There was a mini CV there. I started as an SEO. Back in the early days, 1997, I was the first Google advertising professional in France. 2004. Got these investors on board and exited in 2008, and then bought it back 2011 and exited again in 2016. And then the company that acquired us was bought by a big corp, Accenture, and it was time for me to go out and try something else, do my own stuff, which is Innovell, which is just me and sometimes co-authors that I work with on some of the research reports I do. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about is how digital marketing is overhyped. And it's one of the problems that we're facing all the time. So I'm really happy to be here. I love coming to these conferences, and actually the smaller the better. So this is sort of medium size. You don't have to be the biggest in Sweden or in the Nordics, whatever. There's a lot of truths coming out in these sessions. There's a lot of exchanges. You learn between the sessions. You learn from sort of comparing your own knowledge with what the speakers are saying. Sometimes there are people in the crowd are much more advanced than people on stage, and that's when you shouldn't, be afraid of questioning, of asking, whatever comes to mind, because there's a lot of hype out there. The reason there's hype is that there's a lot of change, things evolve very, very quickly, and also because there is a lot of sales going on. So there's a lot of vendors, and there are some very big vendors, like one is called Google, and one is called Facebook, and one is called Amazon. And then there's Microsoft as well, and there's many more. And they actually build stories, and so they're actively doing storytelling to hype the market so that we can buy more. Okay. Which makes it difficult. It's really enriching as well to listen to, when you go to see Google Marketing Live, which is once a year, or Google I/O or whatever, they will tell you everything they're working on, and they're saying this is great and this is cool and this is coming and you should adopt this straight away. And understanding what's actually happening is not that easy. So as digital marketing is overhyped, since I started Innovell, we try to look for substance. And the places I look for substance is in these places: search awards, so basically entries into search awards. And when we do the judging, we look through the text, and we read between the lines as well. We know what we're looking for, so we can remove the hype from those entries. And the ones that win typically are not the hyped entries in search awards. If you want to enter any Nordic search awards or any of the European or maybe soon to come worldwide search awards, remember that there are some badass, clever people reviewing your entry. So if you've made a real estate ad saying it's 140 square meters, and if you want to know the price, come inside, doesn't work with us. Okay, so put it all up there and tell us about it. Conferences, I go to conferences, I moderate, I speak, and I listen to all the speakers, and I really enjoy it. And I've enjoyed the speakers this morning. And then I do this research where basically I go out and interview top experts in a field. And this has been, the first one was paid search. Right now I'm doing Amazon marketing. So 7, 8, 9 interviews. And then we build a questionnaire, really in depth. So the one that was used for the Search Strategies report has about 100 questions. And we've presented it to typically award winners or top listed agencies around the world. So those are the kinds of things that I'm looking at to figure out. So knowing that, let's take a step back. You didn't notice on the T-shirt there; it actually says 2007. So this was a Google dance in California, 2007, after a conference. So let's wind back to 2007 and look at what search strategy was like, or paid search strategy. Now, if you recognize any of this, maybe you need to update. This is what we did back then. So take over a paid search account, an AdWords account. You would immediately start expanding the number of keywords. More keywords, 10 times more keywords. Yeah, that's the deal. And then you'd sort of restructure the whole thing, start all over, remove the traces of anybody who haven't worked in the account before from a sort of a blank page, get the naming right so that you can report on it, and then separate the keywords and brand, generic, long tail, whatever. And then refresh the ads, and after that, optimize. Like, look at search terms reports, include negatives, improve the whole thing. So we asked some of these leading agencies, okay, so whenever you start a new account, do you actually go in and research the keywords on it? Yeah, of course they do. Pretty much everybody. And how many ads do you put in your ad group? So the Google AdWords recommendation is 3, 4. And they all do that, yeah? So the average there is about 3.6. So this is research, so this is a little bit of sort of looking into what is the research worth. We're seeing what's happening in this manner. But the news here is that optimization alone just doesn't cut it. So why doesn't it work anymore? Or why is this not a search strategy in any way? Because since 2007, we have audiences that have arrived. We have extensions. We have devices, we have customizers. We have things that actually complicate the equation of paid search and multiply it by something like 2,000. So the number of variables that you're working with today is something like 2,000 more variables than what you used to do back in 2007. And for that reason, Excel is not enough. Okay, so if you're optimizing and you're looking in and you're extracting and you're working in Excel and you're updating and that doesn't work anymore. It's not going to get you ahead of competition. So what is? Well, the strategy is the real strategy. The things that are that go beyond the nitty-gritty daily stuff that you can read in all the how-to guides out there. So before we go into that, a bit of a rant. So there was some talk about this morning. What is not a strategy? I think Seymour talked about what is not a strategy, or what is a sort of an over-intellectualized strategy. A bid strategy is not a strategy. Just to make that very clear. A bid strategy is a hyped name that they use to try to make you think that you're doing strategy when you're using a tool. Okay? Sort of fits totally back into what Seymour was saying. So having said that, strategy, well, is something that you're responsible for. It is something that you're building. Sometimes it is explicit. Sometimes it is something that sort of comes along the way. It doesn't matter. But if you don't have one, I was going to say that bad word with an F, you're F something, but I'm not going to say that on stage. You're in trouble. Right, so the overview of the paid search strategy. So this is from the search strategy report, which we published in February. We sort of build mind maps and try to put things into boxes. So these are two sort of families of strategies. There are the insight-driven and the measurement-driven. I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that. It's interesting that when we talk about measurement-driven, it's all about the data that people were talking about this morning, both Jill and Simo. In terms of the insight-driven strategies, very much in line with what also Jill and Judith were talking about in terms of personas, in terms of understanding the user journey and things like that. So those are sort of two families of strategies. And so I looked into this year. So this was research from last year, and I looked into this year's European Search Awards that I was judging. And I tried to look into all the top listed paid search entries there and try to categorize them. And actually, 60% of them fall into these four categories, four named strategies that we identified last year. So those four are, on the insight-driven side, audience-led strategies and data-driven strategies. And on the measurement side, drive to store and search and shopping. So we'll go through these, and I have some case studies, and these are typically actually award winners case studies. So listen carefully when I show them. Not everything is going to be in the notes that you get after the conference. So first, on the insight-driven side, this was talked about this morning, the user journey. So when you're into insights, you try to understand the end user, how they work, what they do, what channels they're using, what signs they're giving us, what keywords they're using. So you try to accompany them along this user journey, and you don't necessarily stay within one channel, which is it's quite important. I wrote an article about this on the blog. Everybody does that. So a case study on the audience-led side. The funny thing here with the audience-led is that I've had several case studies, real case studies of award winners. And at the very last minute when I asked them, okay, so you did get the authorization for me to use this in the report from your client, and can you please send me the email that confirms this? They're like, oh, there was some trouble. So I don't know why, but I've had 3 or 4 actually say, yeah, so I've seen these case studies and they're great. And none of them actually wanted to get it publicized. So maybe that's really important. So I took one which is anonymous. And this is a real one as well, but which I know very well. Didn't win any awards, it should have. So it's a fashion retailer expanding internationally, and they were very hooked on Facebook at that time. So there are 3 stages in this approach. The first one is try to reach the type of audience that will be interested by my brand, which they don't know yet, because I'm new to the market. Yeah. So this is a total, everybody understands that sort of marketing situation where you're like, well, I have a new brand, nobody knows it. How am I going to get out to these people? So the advantage of a fashion retailer is that they have fashion, right, which is fascinating. It's attractive. They have beautiful images. They do catwalks and they do collections. So so they started using that as material on Facebook. So typically it would be catwalk videos, really well shot, really fabulous stuff, and they would I was going to say carpet bomb, which is fairly close, but geographically targeted to the places where they were opening shops. Right? So we're looking at sort of a strategic choice of certain metropolitans, but they're covering everybody in the right age group and gender, and then doing sort of that kind of carpet bombing in a fairly targeted area. It's still quite wide. I mean, so we're talking what they call reach and frequency campaigns on Facebook that you can only book by calling and having a big budget. Yeah, it's not like you can't book them in the interface and stuff. So which is quite interesting. So they did this carpet bombing, and basically when you do that type of campaign, you get the audience, right? So everybody who's actually viewed your video, you can target them as an audience afterwards. And this is very, very powerful because now you have somebody that has moved from awareness into consideration. You can tell us a different story like Jill told us about earlier. You can use different messaging. You know that they know the brand. You don't have to tell the brand story. You can tell the product story, and you can start maybe talking about maybe you should visit the store, or maybe you should buy this product. So that's the second stage of redirecting. Readdressing these people with more sort of direct response type of messaging to get them to act, to get them to go to the website, sign up for private sales, for newsletters, for whatever. And once they'd done that, and if they hadn't bought anything, that we would go to the different category, jump channel, go back to Google and say, okay, and now I remarket it. I remarket to these people from the basis of knowing that they have already been aware of the brand, they have already clicked on something. So we're in through 2 stages, and we're in the 3rd stage, and we know that they're going to purchase this stuff. So this is a fascinating case study, and basically, I don't have more figures than to be able to say that actually they got to the ROI after 6 months, which is long and short, because if you're your green site, you're going out to a totally different place, and your brand is not known, that's pretty good. All right, that was the first case study. The campaign blueprint looks something like this. When you do your first sort of going out to look at the broader audience, you can start down the bottom. Take your best clients and do the stuff where you have to get sign-in and consent and have GDPR authorized approaches here. So that you can take your best client segments and build similar audiences, target them, and then take them through that funnel to get more. Right. Second case study here, I call it data-driven. It's a fascinating one in the sense that now we're in a totally different space. We're in the UK. It's a Drum Search Award winner from Brain Labs, fantastic PPC agency, and Voucher. So they do vouchers. Funny name. I didn't know the name before I saw this. The second largest e-commerce marketplace and provider of online discounts in Great Britain. What they realized was that they didn't have enough data in the shopping campaigns to be able to know whether they were actually promoting the right coupons. Right, so they had transactional data. How many coupons do we get? They didn't have value data. What's the revenue? What's the profitability of these campaigns? So basically, the data drive here is that Brain Labs went in and extracted on a daily basis everything from the transactional system of what is the value generated, and uploaded this back into the Google interface so they can optimize the Google Ads shopping approach. So, and this is a very simple example of some of the things that Simo talked about, of taking the right data and putting it into the equation. And suddenly we're looking at 74% increase in revenue year on year. Amazing, amazing results, and I think they really deserve to win here. Same kind of thing, you're actually plugging data into one of the stages of your user journey. Okay, second, so the other side of the equation. I was talking about insight-driven. This was, we understand the user journey and this is where we need to act. If we look at measurement-driven, this is more about what do we already know? How can we actually optimize the cycle that we're looking at? The first one is a fantastic one. This this is about 2 years ago. The store visits measurement in Google suddenly got better. Right? So that's my observation from the outside, because it was launched 5 years ago and it was crap. But then suddenly we started seeing, just 2 years ago, we started seeing really interesting case studies of people actually using this and using this for profitably. So there's a sort of a strategy out there where you can, if you have points of sale, where you can go out and you can do things like multi-layered radius targeting, meaning that if you have 2 points of sale and you sort of do a radius targeting around them, you can do bid optimizers that are more or less intensive according to the distance you have from the point of sale, so that you suddenly don't have that problem of, okay, which zone am I in? Is it this point of sale or this point of sale? You can actually overlap so that one will go over the other. You can use location extensions, which only came out last year, and you can now do campaigns on maps, and then you can measure with these store visits. And the reason why it's so important that they got better is that imagine you're measuring somebody. Okay, somebody went to my shop, but what if it was sort of 1 meter away and maybe it was next door in a competitor's shop? So the precision of that measurement is extremely important. You can use beacons. I haven't seen any successful case studies of using beacons, but it's out there, and maybe in the future that will work. So the case study here is Bose and Mediacom. They won several awards for this, and so the big thing that they did is that they made a strategic choice, and this was early in that area of this seems to be working, and they said, okay, we're not going to add budget, we're not going to take a new budget and say, okay, now we're going to go drive to store with this budget. They said, okay, let's take what we already have and then turn everything into drive to store. So basically changing the objective of our campaigns, knowing very well that the measurement of the success is not 100% reliable. So they did this, and they went all in and changed all the, they put location extensions and all the stuff that I just mentioned in there. They also went into Ibiza with the Google Maps stuff, and they use some in-market audiences and smart listen. And I'm just wondering if we have, we don't have the conclusion slide on that one. They actually made an uplift of 50% in their store visits that they could measure. So the campaign metrics themselves were fantastic. Right. So that was the third one. So this is the last strategy, the search and shopping one. So it's crazy what's happening in the field of shopping. I don't know if you've felt this. If you've been working Google Ads for a retailer, you will have noticed that you had budgets for text search and shopping, and then you'd have this thing where shopping would go up and text would go down. It's been going on for several years, 5 probably years, and the new player on the new kid on the blog is Amazon. And so I just updated this figure here. Google Ads, Amazon Ads corresponds to almost 1/3 of Google Ads today. These figures, so this is expected 2019. They are growing by 20 to 50% per year. So I know that there's no Amazon. Globally, yeah. So the size of Amazon Ads is it's not a sort of 100% clean figure. But what we can extract and from service at eMarketer, they're growing heftily. Right. So the interesting thing in search and shopping strategies is to get this, this balance right of how much text search do I do, how much shopping search do I do, how much Amazon do I do. There's a there was a wrong logo on that one. Do you want to jump past this one? Totally an entirely new case study here is Littlewoods. It's in Ireland. Wolfgang Digital, a European Search Award 2019 winner. So basically, they realized that they were driving 65% of their revenue by shopping, which is quite significant. They also realized that they weren't growing profits. They were growing revenue, but not profits, because of the sort of easy thing. So metrics again, they were targeting how can we grow the revenue the most, and the categories that grow the most were high tech, and they have low margins. So basically, they were growing revenue, but profitability wasn't growing. So they suddenly took that again, took another dimension of data in and said, okay, let's look at something that has high margin and maybe low revenue growth. And they focused on clothing and footwear. They used smart shopping, which is algorithmic Google optimization, which works terribly well. And they did this by actually analyzing the database and figuring out what's the profitability per product. Rather than optimizing to revenue, optimize to profitability. So profits up 12%, revenue up 9% in clothing, and the paid search revenue up 50% for a 25% increase in budget. So really great results from this one. I think we're going to have to jump through this one very quickly. Yeah, 5 minutes. So I want to talk just a little bit about Amazon, the fact that Amazon is rising. So I know that whenever I talk about this, people say, yeah, but my clients don't want to, or in my market, there's no Amazon, and there are a lot of excuses in this whole sector of search for not going into Amazon, and that is a mistake. So talking with global retailers about, okay, so what are your thoughts about this? Amazon is not in one market. One response we get is, well, maybe Amazon does not have active Swedish version, whatever, but we as a retailer, we have a strategy for people buying via Amazon in Sweden. Okay, yeah, so you will go somewhere else to buy from Amazon, and this will happen very, very quickly. So Amazon is rising, you can't ignore it. We asked these paid search teams last year how much of their media budget was spent on Amazon ads. It went all the way up to 32%, but it was from a very small amount of these players. So a tiny minority of these people are actually doing this. So a quick case study for Lakeland Leather. This is from the new report on Amazon. So basically, in Amazon marketing, you have to have sort of a holistic approach. You need to work from the product feed itself. You need to be ideally able to change the prices of the products, meaning it's difficult for an agency to do this kind of thing. So Fluid went in and optimized the entire product feed, and then went into Amazon Ads, and that's sort of a big step. Amazon Ads has the big difference with Google that if you spend on Amazon Ads and increase the sales, it will impact your organic ranking. Crazy stuff. It's not like Google where we've always dreamt of can I just spend some money and then I get better SEO results. That happens on Amazon, meaning that it's a holistic approach where basically you look at incremental investment and incremental revenue. And these grew by 79% and actually reduced the number of products that they were using. So return on ad spend improved by 10%. Fantastic stuff. And the big thing on Amazon ads, if you go there, is sponsored product ads. That's just an extract from the new report. So I think we're at the wrap up here. In the world of automation, machine learning, and smart bidding, strategy becomes essential. I think you've heard it since this morning. If you don't have sort of a strategic mindset and take a step back and forget, what the figures say just in front of you and think about what's missing, what do I not know, and build something ideally with a bit of risk taking to go out and say, okay, I believe in this, I want to go in this direction. Well, if you don't do that, you're going to be commoditized. You're going to be taken over by algorithms. You're going to lose your jobs. So please think strategic. Search and shopping, audience-led, data-driven, drive to store are things that can be something for you. They can maybe not be. Maybe there's a new strategy coming up. And don't ignore Amazon. Thank you very much.